Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. I see Octavius and Walter here bright and early, so I think everybody's ready for CPI, eh? It's gonna be pretty big. Maybe it comes in line and it's just like a huge nothing burger. But even if that's what happens, I think that we're gonna see some pretty strong flows come out here. So let's come into the charts and just kind of take stock of where we're at. So a little bit higher than we were for most of yesterday, but not too much. It kind of looks like just more consolidation in the treasuries more than anything. And no, we are on a little bit of a winning streak, and the CTAs are going long, and the flows that I have kind of suggest long right now. So then we come over to the S&P 500, and geez, yeah, there was like a weird. Oh, you know, I should know. Yesterday in ZN, they moved around a lot. I think they came huge down and back up. It's really, you know, range bound and choppy over there. S&P 500 kind of having some wild movements as well. Overall, you know, negative flows, but then kind of like bought it back up at the last minute. Oil taking a bit of a plunge yesterday, but they do seem to be recovering some of that. Gold and silver continue to push up and recover. Copper continues to do nothing. Bitcoin is a little bit lower this morning. Well, they took a little bit of a plunge late in the day, but, you know, this still takes us kind of to the middle of the range that we've been trading for a while, so not necessarily a huge deal. And the dollar, slightly lower, 105.32. After being, you know, 105.5 when we started yesterday. So the big thing we've got going today is the CPI report. And US core CPI month over month is expected to be spot 3. With the previous reading being spot 3. So if you got like a spot 4, which I think is unlikely, the market would probably freak out. But, you know, if you could take it out to 100th and it's like 0.35, then that would maybe be bad for the market. So now the headline number is going to matter a lot here too. US CPI month over month, they're expecting spot 3. You got a reading of spot 6 last month. I think that one might be a little bit above consensus because, you know, oil has been a thing lately. Okay, what are the CTAs is a very talked about topic. Okay, so CTA stands for Commodity Trading Advisor. And the CTA strategy, generally speaking, is I look at all of the commodities out there, and the ones that are up the most I buy, and the ones that are down the most I sell. So it's a momentum strategy. So when the treasuries right now, all of the CTAs were short. Now that things have kind of come back very, very quickly, by the way, this week, the CTAs are net buyers, and it's quite a bit. Like in an uptape, the amount of treasuries that the CTAs have to buy is one of the largest imbalances we've ever seen. So, assuming that CPI isn't terrible, I think that chances are we will have opportunities to go long treasuries. Okay, so news is about to come out in a minute. I'm just going to wait here for a bit. 30 seconds. Okay. There was a buy there before the news. They got kicked back down. Very suspicious. Okay, core is in line, but headline is slightly above expectation. So that one is not as concerning to me because I did kind of predict that the headline might be slightly above the expectation because of oil, didn't I? So I'm not going to take a trade off of that. The spread over here is really, really wide. So do you see all of the absorption that's happening around the 108 area? They're going to move lower, but I think that absorption there was a clue. I'm getting a raging clue, guys. Okay. Oh, you forgot about the news G week. How can you forget about CPI? Okay, so we're getting taken back to like 4.6. Which by the way is just kind of like the lows where we were messing around with yesterday, right? So the question here is, how much do they care about headline CPI being spot for? Because I'm kind of not as concerned about it. Look at that. Iceberging at 28. There we go. No, that's called cheating, Walter. That. Oh, that sucks. I was trying to go for 595, but it's just moving around a little bit too quickly here. Oof, oof. Hey, good morning, Mason. There's been a lot of bid side absorption, but so far the sellers are continuing to push. And then, in fact, we just got quite a bit of selling that came through there at like 26, for instance. So I'm feeling pretty nervous, but I'm going to try sit tight. Ow. Okay. They held that time. Oh, I'm not crying. My eyes water. Can you see me constantly dabbing my eyes every day? If they break new lows, though, I might start to cry. S&P isn't too happy. I think I might be wrong here, guys. So my play is that the change in the headline CPI isn't a big deal, and that we're going to continue to see CTAs short covering. And I do see really strong evidence for that theory in the tape, with massive amounts of iceberging and absorption on the bid. But they are pushing down to the lows, and the S&P 500 in particular seems very, very unhappy. So, no, only in the micros. These trades with multiple contracts that I take over in ZN is kind of, I guess, practice or an experiment, if you will, that I've been doing for a couple of months to try and sort out what I want to do when managing multiple contracts. So they had made a good progress there, and then they just tumble right back. That's probably them following the Japanese yen, yeah. This one over here, I'm actually, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's only down 281. So it seems like I'm not the only person with this idea out there, but the people panicking about CPI have it for now. Let's see here. Nick Tamaro's core CPI rose 0.32% in September, a touch firmer than most estimates. The 6-month annualized rate edged down to 3.6 from 3.7. So there you're seeing it again at 24, but oh, there's a pretty big iceberg offer too at 24.5. And they take it bid. Okay. I think if I could redo this again, I would maybe have preferred to wait. Like I still like the trade, but I would have preferred to have waited on execution. Okay, now that time they pushed it a little bit further. That little move was a little bit more concerning. Okay. So a slight reprieve at 22.5. That might be something though where they push it just a little bit further and how bad is the damage so far? It's about 15,000. So when you think about the number of big icebergs that we've seen here and everything, and then you realize that whole move down was only net 15,000 contracts, that's quite significant, isn't it? That's way less than you would expect given how far they've moved and that it's the big CPI number and everything else like that. That was a pretty decent pullback there. And so I want to reset there at 24. Okay. So, of course, the dollar is really moving here. Feeling a little bit more hopeful about the push the other way that I've been looking for, but I'm kind of concerned that we'll get it and it'll just bring me back to break even. How do I calculate the risk for drawdown? So I honestly just kind of guesstimate it. Yeah, so normally I will only want to risk $10 on a trade, but I know because of the current situation that I'm going to need to give it a little bit more room, so I might give it $20, $30. I think I'm risking more than I normally would, and maybe even more than I probably should, because I do think that this flow is extremely unusual and very strongly supports my trade thesis for today, which was that if CPI comes in mostly in line, maybe the headline can be a little bit above consensus, which it was, but it was only spot 4. And I was expecting that it probably would be because oil has been up recently and has come back also, by the way. So, you know, I think that the CPI is not as big of a deal, and that the flows for the CTAs buying and all of that are going to matter more for where we end up going today. That's the calculation that I'm trying to make. And so when I see that absorption, that really, really strongly supports that thesis of there are people very I don't want to say aggressively because they haven't really come in hitting with the market orders yet, okay? But there's been very stubborn bids. How do you explain that? Well, if they're trying to trade it the other way because, you know, CTAs need to cover, then it makes sense. So I'm taking a little bit more risk in this situation than I normally would. And on top of that, you know, yeah, it did go 20 ticks against me at one point, but it was only like that very briefly. We've kind of been in this area where I'm down 5 to 10 for a long time, and it's actually been like this for quite some time. It's almost been, how long have we been in this? 10 minutes? Yeah, I've been in this for 10 minutes. So, you know, that's making me feel a little bit better about it. Maybe that's just me trying to comfort myself, but I'm honestly, I feel quite nervous at the moment. I'm starting, you know, seeing it come back here almost to break even for me, though. That really makes me feel a lot better. Here we are seeing the dollar come back. Hero trade to VWAP? Well, what would VWAP be? There's so little volume at the VWAP, relatively speaking, that I can't actually see what price it is. I'm thinking 31 though. 31 is the next benchmark price that I'm looking to see that we might be able to get up to. So, in fact, I think I'll move this second profit-taking contract up there, and that to there. Recenter things. Is this bullish for the markets? I don't know. I'm not trying to make that kind of a calculation. I think the calculation that I'm saying is that I don't think that what we just got on CPI will be the primary determinant of where prices end up today. Of course, the number matters, and it's going to matter for, you know, the coming weeks. But I don't think that that's going to be the dominant flow today. Okay, so now an aggressive stack at 28.5. That profit taking on that first one, unfortunately, doesn't move my average position, or doesn't get my break even point below my average position. So I'm a little disappointed about that. But I like that stacking that I'm seeing. That means I think I can stand pat, because now that I'm at plus 10, I'm kind of like, okay, if I really and truly am in a bad trade, then I just caught a good break and I should just take it and run it, right? But I'm looking for 31 and then beyond. Heck, maybe even they completely retrace this, which would be like 08. Like, let's say back to the open. Okay, so they did trade the big orders that were at 28.5 though. Okay. So it kind of looks like we're gonna start moving down a little bit again. Maybe we come to the moment of truth where it either, you know, it makes a higher low and I'm like golden, or like this goes even lower and I puke it and regret not taking the profit, right? Actually, I need to adjust here because now it says 01. Actually, let's do it at 08 because that's even profit for me, and there's probably going to be some liquidity there. I'm short-term bullish. I think the Fed will raise rates or leave them this. I feel less certain than I was a week or two ago about what the Fed will do for the rest of the year. Because there was definitely some points there where I was like, there's no way that they can raise rates again this year, right? Now it kind of seems like maybe the market expectation is reasonable, which is that they'll do one more hike. Let's see. I'm still kind of concerned that we're going to have a data point that comes through that just really flips the picture for us. I was very concerned that it was going to be CPI. With the way that the chart and the prices and everything had been playing out, right? If core CPI had been spot 4, then that would have been super, super bad for the market, right? That would have been super, super, super bad. So we dodged that bullet. But, there's every month, essentially, we get more. So, like, the next one is, like, the next jobs number. Except for, I don't know, does the jobs number even matter anymore? I just don't trust that number. But, and further inflation numbers. How things go for the holiday season, that's going to be another big one. We're going to start getting data points to see how consumers are being affected by student loans picking back up again. So... there's this risk that, like, the economy is weaker than we think. I think is really strong right now. But so far, we keep chugging along and it doesn't happen. It's good, but it also makes me nervous because I'm still seeing a lot of things out there that kind of suggest that things aren't all hunky-dory. Okay, so I just want to note that this pushback to 108, I did not get filled with my order at 108, so I think I made a pretty good call on that. That was where I kind of wanted to take profits. I guess I should have put it at 31.5 instead of evens. But this is still kind of more of a pullback to, like, the original liquidity hole kind of areas. So that's not like confirmed reversal. But something I'm seeing that I think is a little bit unusual, and I would argue is in line with my overall theory, is that as we've been moving up, the seller average position has been moving up. So why is that happening? Well, because you are seeing a lot of absorption and two-way trade as this whole thing comes back up. Okay. Coming over to some of these other instruments, if we come back to our main screen and we look at the bottom, we can see the dollar, that this pullback in the dollar coincides with this pullback that we're seeing in the treasuries. So now this little move back down to 27, maybe not so much. I suppose if I get back there on this trade, I can add one. Overall net now, I've had 20. Yep, I've had 20 ticks favorable and 23 ticks unfavorable. So I guess I can call that random luck. By the way, for what Octavius was talking about, now I can see where the VWAP was, and it was at 29. So the hero trade back to VWAP trade, I guess we could consider that one already done. And possibly even like the return back to seller's cost basis trade. Okay, so did it take the other? Yes, it did. And now I need to do... Yeah. I guess I'll do VWAP. Jake Sherman talking about Scalise's epic struggle to become speaker. Oh, by the way, they chose Scalise yesterday. A few surprising things to us in our reporting. Several no's we spoke to said they had not heard from Scalise until yesterday. Many of Scalise's allies were calling around last night trying to soften no's. Many lawmakers were trying to say they cannot be softened. More people chatting about fallback options like McHenry, Emmerich, Stefanik, etc. We're getting into very tricky territory. We're now ending the second week without a speaker. House is paralyzed. Government shuts down in a month. Administration is going to want aid soon for Israel. Yes. I kind of was wondering. I wasn't sure because normally Scalise would be a shoo-in, but like he has blood cancer, and I'm kind of like, is that really a good pick for speaker right now? I guess that's the way that they're gonna go, and he wants it. So. The low of the day was last CEFOMC range? Oh, really? Well, do you notice that they basically went down to like just a little bit beyond yesterday's lows before reversing? So it does kind of seem to me though that like the sellers ran out of steam. Now that we've had this pullback, maybe that's enough of a pullback that sellers decide to come in on like, okay, lower high, that sort of a thing. This is still a fraught trade. Shut her down. Wait, who is her? I generally don't try to avoid shutting down women, but what is that? Of course, I still feel nervous. Even when I was up 20, I still felt nervous about it because I was like, I know I'm going to have to hold it through a pullback. Now we're in the pullback, and I'm really, really nervous. Okay, so I use Financial Juice as my news squawk to get the news. I have a lifetime subscription. It was like $1,000 or whatever. I have an affiliate link in the video description for Financial Juice. But even if you don't get their subscription, they give it to you like 5 seconds delayed or something like that. That's better than nothing. Oh, the government. Shut the government down. Okay. I kind of, at this point, I don't know if we should assume the government's gender, given the political climate. Although I don't know if the government would be appreciated, or would appreciate being called it either, so I'm just gonna... I would think that traditionally government would be represented as a woman. There's certainly, there's Lady Justice and Lady Freedom and, lots of female depictions of ideals and things all over Washington. So I bet you I probably could find a monument in Washington where government is depicted as a woman. But again, are we just assuming the government's gender? That... Oh, his Financial Juice is 10 to 20 seconds delayed. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to trade like the immediate news release off of it, but I think it's better than nothing. And like honestly, so it's $100 a month, which is a pretty decent subscription these days. But if you're serious about trading, I think that's probably one of the most valuable things that you could be spending money on. And I know lots of people spend $100 a month on like way much less useful things. Okay, but then I think they still have the lifetime subscription thing. So like if you're serious about trading, you can put $1,000 on it. Then that's an easy call, At least it was for me. It was what probably the best investment I've ever made trading. Because it's been now like 4 or 5 years, you know? Interesting. Carl Quintilla, excluding shelter, the core CPI rose by just 0.1% month over month. Overall, there is nothing here that will convince Fed officials to hike rates at the next FOMC meeting, and we continue to expect a more rapid decline in inflation and weaker economic growth. This is Carl Quintilla quoting Capicon US. Okay, so basically what I'm getting now is that when you dig into the numbers, that the inflation numbers were actually not bad at all. At least core, which is the one that we really care about. But they maybe want to test the lows again. I mean, I'm back down to minus 20. Man, that happened awfully quickly, didn't it? I want to believe, but it's just not working. The 30-year did take new lows, by the way. And I'm not really seeing. I want to see more market buying in the 10-year, which as of yet hasn't really come through. I'm feel a little bit better about it in the 5-year, but in the 10-year it hasn't really come through. And that's what I'm saying. I'm short-term bull as this Fed bosses keep pushing up, but then I'm bearish as I know the Fed will raise rates. I don't know. You know, one of the most surprising stat to me right now, the data point, and I've seen this at data point in a couple of different ways. There was a survey that something like 80% of CEOs believe that there would be a recession in 2024. Like that just seems absolutely crazy to me. It's like, here we're sitting here looking at it like maybe the soft landing's actually going to happen. Like we're to the end of the cycle already and all these sorts of things. And it's like, how can they be that sure? How can there be that much of a consensus about that there will be a recession next year when the market seems to be saying the exact opposite to us, you know? Like, it seems like everybody is pretty much agreed that like we're close to the end of the interest rate cycle, but then we're not saying that the stock market is about to crash or anything. You know, it's like, oh, we'll be able to bring interest rates back and the market will be okay and we won't have to have a recession. Is kind of what they're saying. You know, it has worked out that way at least once before. I forget when it was, but I saw an article where they pointed out one time where it did work out that way. So they had a decent iceberg at 25, but now that they're through that, probably in order to get this trade where we want it to be, we really need to see the dollar turn back down. I guess the other thing I have to consider at this point, because I am down 15, it's almost back to where I took the original position at, though. But because the 30-year sold so hard, that's why I'm down a little bit more. So the spread, by the way, like the 1030 is really big change. It flattened considerably, and now we're almost back. So that's really odd. Okay, so I've seen a couple of ticks in this area that were good, but it didn't really break out of that range. Maybe too many people were trying it. I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of self-doubt at the moment. Every time it looks good, I get like 2 ticks down and I'm like, well, shit. Look, there's the 30-year pushes down. Again, new lows is dragging them down. So one thing that I'm thinking is, well, maybe I had the right trade and it just didn't get as much out of it as I wanted. You know, but now I'm thinking, well, I wasn't expecting this change in the spread, and this change in the spread seems to really be screwing up the trade, right? Well, the 5-year isn't necessarily giving it up though, so on the other hand, for this one where I'm managing multiple contracts, if I'm really still a believer, I could add a 5th contract down here. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like the flows are dying down, you know? And that we're starting to go sideways a little bit. Wild card, I guess, is still the dollar. The dollar and the Japanese yen could flip here. Help me, JPY, you're my only hope. Well, so I'm seeing like ticks back and forth there, 24 half, 25, right? I'm not seeing the icebergs anymore. I'm not seeing any of that stuff. It's just kind of moving. 30-year though. 30-year, you're not helping. Okay, now there's a stack at 24. So now they're going for a squeeze, huh? Yeah, there it does it again. It's just like it goes one way and but then it reverts back to us so quickly. Down another tick again, but they went bid at 24 really, really easily. So, like if I wasn't already in a position, that would definitely be like, okay, this is now a shit market, right? Don't like that one. Come on. Okay, now I am seeing those market orders come in the ZN. Are they gonna pull ZB away from the brink here? I would really appreciate it, because now I have to do a little better than 24 though. Oh, of course. So, of course, now the ZB just does nothing, huh? I guess we were seeing the dollar rise a little bit there, so that might be part of it. Yeah, there's a little bit more of a sell in the dollar. I am seeing more trade per tick. No, not there at 23.5 though. Gosh. Yeah, of course the dollar is just flipping back higher. Shit. You have an idea of why commodity? Well, I mean, are commodities overall pushing up? I'm not sure if that's broadly true or not. Wait, which specific instruments are you talking about? The only thing that I really have up on my board is oil. I guess soybeans. I guess soybeans is up. Thought I had a chart up here of soybeans, but I'm going through here and I don't see it. Copper's not recovering. Oil is up, yeah. Oil maybe is doing its own thing, though. I don't know. I kind of feel like that from here that the flows are just kind of doing their own thing and that I can't necessarily explain it. So the one thing I can see that I can explain is that the yield curve seems to be steepening back out, and that's killing the 30-year. There's still some hope. Yeah, well, I would say that the sellers are winning in ZN. So I've seen a lot of things in the flows quite supportive of my overall thesis, but they're kind of languishing. So I'm kind of thinking that like that was a player, you know, that was a factor, but it was just ended up not being strong enough, you know. How do you access the footprint charts on Jigsaw? Well, so first of all, you can't be using the bridge. Can't be using the NinjaTrader bridge. And then you come over here to the control center and you click on the little button that looks like a chart. Okay, there's a 2-3 ticks up there. So maybe some short covering stops. The 30, oh wow, the 30-year really came back, so let's try and sit tight here. Explosive kerfuffle erupts between House Democrats after Jewish representative accused of slamming Muslims. Oh, of course. Biden says he's seen confirmed pictures of Hamas beheading children, but then White House issues immediate clarification. I think when he's made that comment, he didn't know that there's that story is currently being disputed. I see some leftists saying confirmed debunked, but I don't think that I don't think that anything's confirmed. I think that's the whole thing. It's confirmed that it's not confirmed. So we got a little bit of a reprieve there, but like the dollar's not clearly turned. So I'm still sweating here. Overall, I'm feeling pretty dissatisfied with this trade. Like, one of the things I'm thinking about is that obviously with as much adverse excursion as I've gotten, I didn't get in a good spot. If I had gotten in on a better spot, then I maybe I would have gotten 30 or 40 and I would have just felt better about that and taken the profits, you know? Ah, jeez. But I think what I'm kind of looking at now is like reversal's not happening and it's just kind of languishing towards the lows, right? So that means that at some point around here, I'm just going to have to take the loss probably. Which over here is easy, but with this one, I'm not quite sure how I want to do that if I'm going to take the loss. It's a little bit of iceberging between 23 and 23.5. So apparently there's still some trade going on over there. The dollar's still kind of is maybe doing like an ascending triangle sort of a thing. Yeah, you know what? I've let this go on too long. The flow that I need is not coming. Is not happening. I think the flows that I wanted to see, they did happen. They weren't as strong as I thought. I misread what was just a pullback, and I should have taken profits from that. Which I identified at the point was a possibility, right? You think we should short oil? It does not come down while other commodities have. I've learned that when you... Oh, I don't know about that one. Short oil sounds like a good way to have your face ripped off. Do you support Israel? That seems like an awfully loaded question, my friend. What actually is entailed in supporting Israel? I don't support terrorists, I can tell you that much. Very bitterly disappointed. Yeah, the dollar just broke a new high there, by the way. I'm not just sad about this situation. I'm very, very upset about it. Especially with the whole thing of them attacking a rave, because, I do that sort of stuff. I like psytrance, and it's very upsetting. It feels so close to home, even though it's on the other side of the world. And I'm like really worried now because apparently the guy has been calling for attacks on Friday, and that could happen around the world, including in the US. I'm very worried about what might happen. I don't want to be put on the hook that I agree with and support everything that the Israeli government does. They make mistakes, and in many respects, they kind of are in a lose-lose situation where whatever they do, it kind of sucks, right? But, my opinion is, you got two groups of people living there. Neither of them is going to leave. This whole thing that you're going to convince one side or the other to disappear, like Hamas's refrain from the river to the sea, it's absolutely insane. It's never going to happen. You need to read the room, realize what's happening, and broker a peace, because this cycle of violence that they're on is pointless. Is never going to accomplish anything. South Park is safe. Okay, that little pullback there was a little better. Oh, I'm still kind of in this mode where it seems to move a lot. Look, we've just had 15 ticks there within seconds. Don't take sides, just find opportunities to make money. I think one of the things that is really difficult about the situation for me when it comes to Israel is that it really is out of my lane, right? I find it really funny now that this has happened. Every little Tom, Dick, and Harry is out on TikTok, trying to say, how it is. They know, we've struggled with this for decades now, but they know the solution. They know what needs to happen. They know who's right. They know who's wrong. They know all the history, all these sorts of things. And I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure that I know way more about it than you. And I'm saying that it's outside of my lane and that I don't really want to take too much of an authoritative position on it, How do you control your emotions when you get spy glasses? I don't. I've been telling you this whole time, I'm nervous as AF. I don't let how I feel dictate the actions. Celebrities making dumb statements. Well, some of these, I tell you what. So, yeah. I think broadly speaking, I support Israel. I get a little nervous when people come on the stream and are like, do you support Israel? Because I'm like immediately like, are you trying to like put me on the hook for something or entrap me or something? Like, why would you ask that question in that way? Because obviously everybody is against terrorism. And I believe that Israel has a right to exist, right? But like, there are some people out there that have taken really, really super aggressive positions on this whole thing, and frankly, really, really dumb aggressive positions. Okay, like freaking BLM Chicago tweeting a picture of a guy with a parachute, you know, supporting Hamas. Like, are you crazy? Like, thousands of people were just murdered in cold blood in the most horrifying and personal way, and you're making a happy-go-lucky supportive meme about it? What is wrong with you? This is so shocking. I also saw this TikTok the other day where somebody was talking about it, and you go into the comments, and one of the commenters were like, when you showed the picture, I audibly gasped. And that is 100% my reaction to it. It was like, even for a far left organization like Hamas, like BLM Chicago, I'm absolutely shocked that they would tweet that. You know, like if it wasn't on Twitter so that we could save it and all of that, I wouldn't believe it. Whoa, wait, the girl that they showed on a pickup truck that they identified with the tattoos, or were you talking about one of the hostages? There was the one that I think there was a video of, and they were she was alive and they were putting her into the truck. I totally believe that she was alive. But there was the German girl. I thought that she was dead. I thought that we had videos of like her dead body being paraded around. Sorry, hold on. I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping up with you guys here. On your ladder, 10-year note, what is next to your 10726? No, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you're talking about this column to the far left that has red and blue numbers on it, that is my total profit loss. The German girl's mother is saying that she's alive. Okay, I'm really surprised. I mean, that's really good, I guess, because that was one of the ones that people were the most upset about. Like, my understanding is that Germany was super pissed about it. Yeah, that body did not look alive, right? But does that mean that she's being held hostage? Because this is the thing that, so in Israel, and this is the schools have been saying that the government told them this, but nobody can confirm that the government told them this. But the schools are saying, take the kids off of social media. Don't let them be on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, because they're expecting in a few days here. Especially if Israel goes in, I kind of wonder, I would have thought that Israel would have already moved into Gaza. Perhaps they are delaying because they want to do something about rescuing the hostages, and they're trying to put something together to rescue the hostages. I don't know. But, when they do come in, we anticipate that Hamas would start executing the prisoners they have, and that they would post that to social media, and they don't want the kids to see it. And most of the hostages were women and children. So, like, there could be a lot more horrifying stuff to come, man. So let me go back here. For Deverax, did they say that they support the Palestinian people or that they support Hamas? This is a good question. I don't know. The thing that I'm upset about is the parachute thing. But like, again, you know, the word in these statements that we're talking about here that bothers me is support. What does support mean? You know? Because support is a little bit of a vague term. Because to some degree, I could say that I support Palestinians. Does that mean that I think that Palestine should own from the river to the sea? Definitely, I don't agree with that at all. Would I support a two-state solution? Maybe, given the right circumstances, you know. Would I really like to see? Do I think that there's a lot of good people in Gaza that, you know, are just in an unfortunate situation, and Hamas is really working against their interests, and that most people just want peace and want all of this nonsense to go away, and that it's just the extremists pushing to them to it? Absolutely, right? So you can see how what support means is a little bit too broad, right? Because we're talking about a very nuanced issue. What else there? You guys got, there's a couple of things that we want to talk about. Another question I remember seeing there was, is this what you look like when you're nervous? Oh yeah. I guess I can't really explain how I feel. That there are physical sensations that you will feel. Like, have you ever been at school and the teacher says, okay, it's time to turn in X assignment, and you go, oh crap, I left it at home, or I totally forgot about that assignment and didn't do it, and that your stomach drops and like everything just falls on you like a pile of bricks? That's what it feels like. What that sensation is, the sensation of cortisol coursing through your body. Okay, that's how I feel. When you look at how I would look, or the way that you can see it in people, is it kind of weighs on your face. It almost makes it hard to smile. I'm definitely feeling it now, especially since we're kind of pushing back down again. Because I'm kind of looking at this like maybe 15 was the best that I was gonna get. Yeah, so it might be hard to tell just from looking at somebody, but I mean, why does it matter? Well, how nervous Seth is, it shouldn't really affect you. But the key thing is that you will feel emotions, and you will be affected by what's going on and how good your trade looks. And you need to make your decisions, you know, logical decisions based on what you know about the flows. Now, I think that what I'm doing here right now, I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job of that. I feel like that the emotions are affecting my decisions a little bit here, because I really should be out of this, and I can't, and I haven't been able to do it yet. I'm still hanging on, hoping that eventually those long flows will come. I guess when I look at it, though, something that I'm just realizing is that the S&P 500 just barely started going. So, It feels to me like I've been in for 2 hours. Yeah, it is a downside of the mental stops. Well, actually no. I don't think it's that, because I am in this situation. I would be willing to lose $30 to $40. Okay. The thing that I'm having a hard time dealing with is that, if I do stop out at $40, I could definitely see that I could have limited my losses, if not taken a profit, right? And so the thing I'm struggling with right now is, if the trade isn't working, but it's not necessarily like I hate it so much that I get out of it, then how do you manage it from there? Do I just minimize the loss, or do I really hold on for the reversal? And I still really like the trade for some reason. Don't transform a day trade into a long investment. This can be. Oh, I don't know if I've definitely heard that. Okay, so if you're in a trade and it's like it didn't go your way, and then you probably want to get out, right? My trades are a little bit more like swings, anyways. This one is definitely a little bit more like a swing. But then the other thing is like if you catch a winner, some of the best trades are going to be ones where you catch a good winner and then you can just let it ride for days. So I think that most of the things that you will see me say that contradict the common trader wisdom all comes down to this one simple concept. The only thing, particularly on short time frames, that is going to predict where things are going is the flows. And if you know things that predict the flows, then you can predict where it's going. Everybody wants to have all of these little neat little tricks where you can say, well, because we made a new higher high or a higher low, and that's where I'm going to put my stop. And, it helps me manage risk is what they say. They say, well, yeah, but the technical analysis can help you manage risk. If it's not something that's predictive, how is that actually helping you? Right? I guess it can give you an anchor point. It can give you a rule so that you can be consistent about it, but it's not necessarily giving you an edge, unless it has something to do with the flows. Unless I see or know something that really tells me. What I see right now is we had some selling flow. There was a lot of absorption against it, but they're not following through with it. They're definitely not going long and really aggressively taking out offers with market orders. And now we're just kind of going sideways in this range. That's what I'm seeing. And the flow reversal is not happening. So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. That's just what I'm seeing right now. The way that technical analysis can potentially help you is, for instance, if I take a trade, a reversal trade, when the RSI is below 20, okay, that's your risk reward kind of changes when you do that, right? Because you're not going to win that one all the time, but when you do win, it's probably going to go a lot further, right? Those are the sorts of things is the technical analysis can kind of shift the probabilities and stuff that your model that your system gets. So that won't make it profitable necessarily, but it will change certain properties about it, right? So that you can get something that you're more likely to get good runners with it or whatever the deal is. So this is a little interesting because I don't know. I don't think that on that pullback when we were up at like 28, was it? It maybe kissed break even, right? Well, yeah. I mean, I think that so where I think that charts are the most useful is just being able to remember what happened, right? Because I can look at it and I can say, okay, there was this move. These were the flows that I thought were dominant during this move. This is what I think led to this move, that sort of thing, right? That's how I read charts. You notice when I come in and I look at it, I just go, okay, like, are we up or down relative to yesterday? Why might that be? What are the flows? That's all the analysis that I do. I don't try and come and look at it and say like, oh, here's this pattern, etc., etc. We're getting it, with the way that I trade, there are patterns, but a pattern is the result. Pattern is like, I take the trade and then I expect to see the pattern. And if I'm right, then I'll see the pattern, right? Pattern is an entry from everything that I know about the markets that isn't going to work. Okay, let's see here. In my opinion, if someone says I support the Palestinian people, I interpret that as saying that they support their right to be treated correctly and have their human rights respected. Well, okay. But doesn't everybody respect everybody's human rights and expect their rights to be respected? It's hard for anyone to understand a word compared to markets where an understanding accurate enough to give you a slight edge at specific times puts you... Yeah. Well, that's true. Like the analysis of the battlefield and trying to predict who's going to win in a conflict is really hard. But it's for the same reasons in the markets too. So this is a very insightful comment. Because why is that? Why do we get these systems that are like this? Well, because you have a lot of little data points. You have lots of little things that are going to influence the outcome. Right? And a really tiny thing can be the thing that like ends up being all that matters. Right? That's why we get this. That's why the square root law matters so much, right? The square root law means that every order matters, and that you know, there are situations where even the small little orders from retail traders have an impact on the outcome. When small things can have big impacts, things become very difficult to predict. You know, this is why, again, like, philosophically speaking, the idea behind technical analysis is really insane. It's really insane, and it's so like it is just like such a fundamental misunderstanding of what the world is. It's just crazy to me that so many people want to believe it. But what am I talking about? Well, the fundamental theory behind technical analysis is that, like, people behave consistently. Things tend to turn out in a certain consistent way, and you can go and look at the historical probabilities of it and see, you know, in this situation, this is how it tends to play out. This is the whole kind of general idea of technical analysis. And I say, like, no, this is not true at all. Number one, people are incredibly random. If I just take one random person out of the population and I try and predict what that person is going to do in a certain situation, it's a crap. You have no clue. If it's a random person you don't know anything about, and even if you pick a random person and then you're given a little bit of information about them and you try and predict what they're going to do, that's still really hard to do. That's still like, you know, the amount of edge that you get in predicting those sorts of things is super, super, super tiny. And tiny little things are matter, right? So the thing that you're looking at, or the behavior that people have or whatever, might not even matter. It might not even matter, you know? So the whole fundamental theory of technical analysis is just wrong. Okay, well, kind of thinking about what I want to do here. So the problem as I see it is, although we're not doing terribly over here in the treasuries, the dollar is not cooperating. Like, look at how much further the dollar is gone. I don't know what's driving those flows, but I'm not happy about it. I don't want to be in this anymore. I could have taken it off at -10. I probably should have done that. I'm just trying to give it room to breathe, trying to give it the maximum amount of time for what I want to see to happen, but it's just not doing it. And it looks like I'm gonna puke at the high. Octavia says, don't puke. This is not working, man. The flow is not coming. It's going to do it as soon as I get out, right? Tuesday, aren't we already below that? Oh no, Tuesday's low was actually 21. I don't want to take a $40 loss on that. It sucks. I did get 20 ticks favorable at one point, so like, I guess I can hold on to this one. I'm really surprised that I never got the 29. Can we predict if the market is going to slow or just range? Yeah, we can, actually. That's the one thing that I can actually do really, really well. But like, if the market's not going to move for the next 10 minutes, this doesn't really help you a whole lot, does it? Even if you were trading options, that wouldn't, you know, for the next 45 minutes, that's not going to help you. How? So what you want to do is first, usually there's something that kind of causes it to happen. So it's usually some sort of a large transaction. Maybe there's a huge iceberg there, or just a lot of trade going back and forth there. Another thing that could happen is it will just tick back and forth across a price, and it's been there long enough and enough has traded there. And basically what happens is everybody that intended on trading that price has done so. Everybody that wanted to trade on that has done so. And so nobody wants to put the liquidity anymore. So you'll see like big transaction, and then, you know, pauses a little bit, and then it's like they can't even put up 500 contracts. Can't even put up 500 contracts at 22. It ticks down. They can't even offer 500 contracts. It ticks up. Can't even bid 500 contracts. And it just does that. And that's when you know you're in the liquidity hole, and it'll just sit there for 45, 20 minutes sometimes. It just creates this kind of this spot. It's like a hole in the ground. You just slide into it. And you really need like a lot of market orders. They really need to push hard to get out of it. That, or they have to just wait for the hole to heal, and then they can move freely again. If everyone trades order flow, do you think traders will lose their edge in this style? Well, I think that when we look at like the stylized behavior of markets, for instance, things about the order flow that we know happen, right? I think that the explicit edge that you could gain in a setup based purely on that one thing has already been largely taken out of the market. When I tell you guys that stuff, if I really thought, no offense, guys, but if I really thought that was something that gave me like an explicit edge and there was still a lot of opportunity to make money off of it, I wouldn't tell you guys about it. I would want to have as little competition for it as possible. So yeah, some of that edge is already. But the split side of that is that because these things are based on the market microstructure, which is to say that it's the rules of the game that cause these behaviors. It's not just some behavior that through our data snooping we've found, or people tend to behave this way and maybe if people change it. No, it's based on the rules of the market. In particular, it's based on the rules of a limit order book. And for those behaviors to change, we would need to not be using a limit order book anymore, right? So those behaviors will always be there, and there will always be somebody making money off of it. It's just, will you be competitive enough to be the one that's making the money from it, right? And so you don't want to trade against it. It becomes base. It becomes something that, you know, to be competitive, you probably need to know these things, but it's not going to give you the edge. Make sense? And that's where what I come down to is what's going to give you the edge is knowing things about the possible future flows. Like today, our edge was that, you know, there are still CTAs that have to go long and that the news wasn't that bad. So this news should probably retrace. But I think there's another piece of information that was what we're going to see in the spreads, that we'll see the spreads steepen back out, and that the dollar's not going to come back. And I don't know why the dollar's not doing that. So I think there's a piece of information that I'm missing. That edge ended up mattering more in this situation. So my edge didn't win out, right? That's the way that I approach it. See, like, what if I lose, I should be able to know why I lost. I don't look at it as, you know, I mean, to some extent it is just like luck of the draw, but like, why did it not actually happen? Because there was flows going the other way. The dollar is rising for whatever reason. And I'm sure that by the end of the day, I might understand why the dollar is rising as much as it is. Or although perhaps the dollar rising is just mean reversion for all I know. I don't know. I puked at 462, so like I could technically still be in it and have the same $30 loss. But like, it is straight up doing the liquidity hole thing right at the lows. And that's not necessarily something that you want to be sitting in, because if it does go lower, it's going to go really fast and you're going to be down $40 or $50 before you know it. I do think one of the problems that I've been having lately is that it seems like when I get a really good winner that I'm not able to completely take advantage of it. And then when I take the losers, I've taken big losers lately. Like we had one on, what was it, Monday, when I was only able to take $10 on it. And if I had held it all day, I probably could have made like 70. Yeah, there's new lows, and that would be yesterday's low, right? So there's a breach of yesterday's lows. Now I'm seeing some people puke. Yeah, so again, the problem was I had been, for a long time, didn't like the trade. And it came back to minus 10. I should have taken it there. But I was like, oh, well, let's come back this far. You might as well, just keep letting it have room. No, should have dumped it. I knew that it was a bad trade, right? S&P 500 is selling off here, now down below 4,400. So 4,400 is anytime you get to like evens or zero. So like 4,450. 4,500, etc. You're getting to places where there's a lot of options activities, so gamma could change in that situation. I would think that that would maybe be something that could maybe cause counterflows. So let's just kind of see. They're down quite a bit. Let's come over here now that I'm out of it, and I can try and relax and get myself back to a neutral kind of emotional state. Let's see if we can find any information to possibly explain why the market reacted the way that it did. Following August's bigger than expected jump, September's CPI was expected to slow, with the year-over-year pace inching back lower after rebounding for 2 straight months. However, headline CPI came in modestly hot at 0.4 and with year-over-year at 3.7. That is the 3rd monthly rebound in a row. Excuse me. Food and commodities contribution to year-over-year CPI slowed while services increased. Goods inflation dipped back to unchanged. Services stands out on a month-over-month basis. Under the hood, gasoline continues to rise and used cars prices drop. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in September as it did in August. The shelter index was the largest factor in the monthly increase in the index for all items less food and energy. Shelter index increased 0.6 in September after rising 0.3 the previous month. The index rose 0.5% in September, and the index for owner's equivalent rent increased 0.6. I'm not going to read all of these individual things, okay? The index for all food and energy rose 4.1. Turning from the cost of things to the ability to pay, real wages contracted 0.1%. This is not the soft landing cruise lower in inflation that the market and the Fed was hoping for. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's just kind of like what the market was expecting. I don't really see the panic. But is there anything else going on? No, everything is down. The only thing I have on my board, soybeans is up 0.22% and oil is up 1.5%. Everything else is down, with the Russell, the biggest loser at the moment, followed by wheat and the bonds. So I don't know. I was wrong. You know what? I'm wrong. I should have puked this one over here. This sim trade, now that it's 1,000, I'm definitely gonna puke it, so. On the managing contracts, in terms of my entry and stuff, I wouldn't say it was terrible, but obviously I don't want to puke it out, right? Should be getting rid of it before that point. I'm still thinking. I'm really curious. You know, the dollar has moved up 70 cents now, 75 cents. That's really curious to me. It's like this is a last inflation report, I think, was worse than this, and the market didn't move as much. Am I wrong? Yeah, see, here's the Zero Hedge has a story that was exactly the scenario that I was looking. Treasuries are liable to being squeezed higher after today's U.S. inflation data as CTA funds cover their short position. Bonds have begun to rally off their lows. 10-year yields are over 30 basis points off their recent highs, while the Bloomberg Treasury Index is 1.4% off of its recent low. The setup favors the rally continuing as commodity trading advisors start to cover their shorts. CTAs typically deploy trend-following strategies, i.e. they tend to go with moves in assets, either up or down. Anecdotally, CTAs are historically very short global bonds, including treasuries, Bonds have been selling off around the world, with the Bloomberg Total Aggregate Index seeing a peak to trough fall of almost 8% this year. We can infer CTAs are short by looking at the multiple regression of the SG-CTA index to the S&P and the U.S. Treasuries and charting the coefficient of the latter. When this is negative, as it is now, it likely means CTAs in the aggregate are short Treasuries. Headline: consumer inflation is anticipated to land at 3.6%. Obviously, a much higher print would likely trigger another sell-off, but CPI fixing swaps skins in the game. Estimates from traders expect the headline to come in at 3.55 with rounds to 3.6. Further, there's a little disagreement between economists whose estimates in the Bloomberg survey are tightly bunched around the median, with 42 out of the 48 estimates expecting a number between 3.5 and 3.7. This accords with leading indicators, which see the trend lower in headline and core inflation continuing through the end of the year. Therefore, it feels like risks are tilted to bonds rallying, which could trigger self-reinforcing short covering from CTAs. Oh, okay. So I guess they expected headline at 3.6. And they got 3.7. I don't know, man. I think this move is a little bit... Of course, when I'm wrong, I'm not going to understand it, right? This particular move could just be a stop run because of reaching yesterday's lows and stuff. I hate it when you ban somebody in chat and it doesn't, Discord doesn't delete all of the moves, the messages. Deleted. Okay, well, 465. That would have been negative 50, right? 5.9. Took 60. That was 6.2 or 6.5. Yeah, it would have been $50. So, it would have been $60. So, could have been worse. Could have been better. I could have gotten away with only -10. I could have gotten away with +20. I really should have just taken the +20. I mean, I said it. I was like, well, if this is just a pullback, I should just take it. Hold on. So, wow, we still have an hour left, huh? Let's change the title. Yeah, I'm looking back at it now. When I think about the deltas, right? Okay, so we basically we got in somewhere around here. We got this. Great. Okay, now it's kind of uncertain. At around this point is probably maybe the first place that I should have gotten out. I held through it and it came to here. Now look, it comes to here. Are we actually seeing the buying though? No, we're not. It's still going down. So I really should have puked it earlier. Instead, I ended up puking it. Instead of here, I puked it like somewhere right here. So it wasn't a terrible exit. I guess in terms of like me really trying to give it as much room as possible, I did a pretty good job. But in the end, it was a losing trade. And I need to have less large losses like that and more big losses on the other side, or big wins the other side. I haven't been getting very many of those big wins the other side as I would like. There's a lot of trades, 250 lots and larger, going off down here on the buy side, and they're just not getting anything for it. Yeah. Well, I would say that pullback there is encouraging. That pullback is encouraging. I'm not seeing the delta on it. I am for the first time today seeing some signs that the 30-year is maybe done with that. And the dollar did shift, so I suppose it would maybe make sense to start taking the reversals now. Although I don't know. I have a really hard time seeing it. I think that they could maybe get back into the 25, 26 range. I have a really hard time seeing it like completely reverse the move now after all of that, don't you? You say the JPY is close to 150 again? I mean, I am a little tempted to try starting to stock the reversal again, but I think I might be emotionally exhausted. That was a pretty rough trade. Yeah, you can see what you mean, because right there at 18.5, it's kind of like the same thing that we've been seeing, where it's like the buyers are just not there, man. like there are definitely guys sitting there with bids, and there's big bids and there's absorption, but the market buys just never materialize. This move right here in ZB, that was the first time today that we've seen any kind of a move up in cumulative delta. But it was, the dollar did reverse. Not completely, but they came back a little bit. I'm reading this story. Basically, okay. They were in a closed conference, and he said because they're all guilty, and others saying he stated because they should feel guilty. So they disagree about what he said, but there's some drama. It does seem like this issue with Hamas is starting to drive a wedge between Democrats, because a lot of Democrats reflexively came out with their virtue signaling pro-Palestinian stuff, and a lot of people are very unhappy about it. What do you mean, why don't you create a trading group? Isn't that what this is? Which is why Israel is our greatest ally? Is it? I don't know. I think, well, like when it comes to edge, because I don't run this stream as like, I have an explicit edge, just follow me and you'll make, you know, we know a lot of things about the market that will help you out, and that we can prove are actually a thing. And that's what we focus on. And sometimes we're able to develop an edge on it, and sometimes we're not. And it's going to depend on the market and how good we are doing it at the time. And lately, I feel like I've come short a lot. Wouldn't say that I've been like explicitly bad, but I just didn't have enough. And, you know, I'm trying to take risks. And so that's the way it goes, you know? I think that I've done quite well on the micro treasuries, though. Done quite well. There's been some instruments that I've had like good runs on, but like ES, that's a net loss. ZN, that's a net loss. This last year on this kind of this multiple contracts thing, that has actually done extremely, extremely well. But I'm doing something a little bit degenerate with it to some extent. You know, so taking fewer trades is a way, but it does make the losses hurt more. Yeah. You know, though, Uzi, I think that in normally I wouldn't let one loss hurt me too much. And I guess, you know, probably tomorrow I'm going to forget about it. You know, probably tomorrow I'm going to forget about it. But the thing that's been troubling me lately was that I had a drawdown that was pretty significant, right? I had like a $100 or something like that drawdown. And I've had a few winners since then, but it's like almost immediately after I have the winner, I have the loser in, and I haven't been digging out of that hole. So that's kind of what's making this hard psychologically, I think. You know, as seeing a spot where the market does seem to be doing a lot of stuff now, and I'm just unable to get it to work. I do kind of like the movement that we've been seeing here. There's a lot of things that make me feel better about the flows, but ultimately, I'm still really skeptical about it, like completely retracing. So I don't feel like it's worth a trade, especially if I feel emotionally exhausted. So I'm just going to continue to watch it and just make a note that it was at 4635. I think another thing that bothers me right now is like, okay, so I have toddlers. A lot of free time is just spent like casually browsing on my phone, so that I'm mostly trying to keep an eye on the toddlers so they don't kill each other. So I'm not able to like really dive deep and like do like serious work in free time. And same with my wife. And the thing that bothers me with my wife right now is I feel like it's incredibly unfocused. It's like, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this, but like, what are you actually trying to accomplish? Where are your goals? Where are you trying to go? It seems like you're going nowhere, and you're doing things that are maybe like are hurting where maybe you want to go. But then I look at myself and I'm like, well, I think I know where I want to go. But then the truth is that I've kind of done a lot of the things that I wanted to go, and I don't really have like a super strong, like burning drive to go and push in a certain direction right now. You know, I'm just kind of like biding my time. Like, you know, I'm kind of in a stopping point with videos where it's like the videos that I really wanted to make and made. So now I'm like making a video about the chart, because that's not about the markets anymore, right? It would be a good video for the channel. It would be helpful to people because you do sit here a lot, right? But it's not the same thing, you know what I mean? And yeah, we've done well, but I feel like it's still not enough. You know, I need to step up another level again, and I don't know where I'm gonna find the thing that's gonna get me there. I do push-ups. I don't know if that's another thing that kind of weighs on me is like, this is gonna sound so stupid, but this situation with Epic Games laying off a lot of people, because the reality is that like my online home was in that, and I haven't been too involved with them because I didn't really like the direction that they went. And last time I was at a crossroads like this, I said, I don't like the way this is going. I don't want to be involved anymore. I'm just going to go do my own thing. And Fortnite took off like without me. You know, I could have been a part of that and I wasn't. So now I'm like in the same spot, and it's like the same thing. It's like, well, I don't really like the way they're going with this metaverse thing. I could turn around and I could start making content about the metaverse. You know, maybe it would do well, maybe it wouldn't. I'm concerned that it's just going to turn into another dystopian nightmare, like everything does with them. But you know, that was kind of home. I kind of missed that. Well, that's been bleh. That's kind of been in the background on my mind all the time. I don't know. I'm looking at this Octavius, because Octavius was like, "Don't puke." Well, I'm glad I did, but I still feel like the reversal might happen. Still feel like it might happen. We are getting a little bit of a hole here around like 21. I'm not liking that, because if I did take a trade, it would have been 635, right? Yeah, well, that's 10 ticks. I guess that move, it would just be recovering what I believe was a stop run anyways, so. Thought I heard something, but I think it was just artifacts in the song. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so we get natural gas at the bottom of the hour, huh? Wait, if it's Wednesday, shouldn't it be oil? Yeah, we do. Oh, oil is at 9 o'clock. What's with that? What's with that? Why is oil at 11 Eastern time today? That's weird. I think one of my kids stole something yesterday. So not seeing it here on my desk. There was a little tick down and then they forced it back up. It's usually a good sign. Kind of funny because this moved, since I've been out, they basically moved 20 ticks and then 20 ticks back. So that's quite volatile, actually. Okay, well, I think they finally got a tick down there. Finally. It looks like they're reverting back to the hole. We might get it. Yeah, you might be right. I think that if we were to get another one pushed down, it would maybe sit here for another 15 minutes, though. And the thing that I still see is like, well, actually, it might be the treasuries moving it this time. Maybe it is maybe the dollar is following the treasuries. I don't know, because like the treasuries, they mean revert. You know, they kind of were mean reverting and going sideways for it here for a while, but the dollar never stopped climbing. Not good at timing. Well, no, it's really easy. This is one of the best edges I can share with you. This is why I probably won't make a video about this one, but we talk about it on the stream. Okay. It takes about 45 minutes for liquidity to recover. So, geez, I hate it when it does this, where like, you know, I can't see my Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this because I need to see my bar. No, not like that. Okay. So we moved down at 6:30. Okay. So then we want to wait about 45 minutes. So when did the next move happen? So 45 minutes would have been 7:15. But you might not necessarily want to do it at 7:15. You want to give the S&P 500 a little bit of time to go. But it was more than 45 minutes. So it takes 45 minutes for the liquidity to recover. So by this point, liquidity was recovered, right? So we can kind of do the same thing as we can look at this move and we can say, okay, this one ended at 8 o'clock. So the liquidity won't be recovered until 8:45. So if I was selling, right, if I had a ton of orders to still sell out there and there was going to be another leg to this thing, I want to wait for the liquidity to recover so that I have the best chance of, getting as much volume as I can through that. So I'm going to wait 45 minutes. I think you will find, especially if you get a day that goes like this, like bull flags, you're going to find that these little pullback things are about 45 minutes. Almost always. It's all like scary consistent. The issue is you don't necessarily know if the other leg is coming. Oh, sorry. Was I not even showing you the chart? My gosh. So 45 minutes was here. Sorry. 7:15 was right here. 45 minutes would be about here. So yeah, probably they do this. And then if they are going to go down, then yeah. Of course, they are kind of looking like they're going to be like, we're going to go back up to here. And then it's possible, but I think unlikely. Like the thing that kind of has me, what do we say, like a little pessimistic about that reversal is that the equities take this really hard. Of course, knowing the way the equities go and what they've been doing as these days, equities can completely reverse at the end of the day for no apparent reason, right? But the treasuries, I'm a little... usually by this point, the treasuries don't just reverse back up. Cumulative delta jumped hard, but the price didn't reach even half of the move, but that looks like a bit of a limit. Well, yeah, when you look at it in the 10-year, though, I'm not going to make it big, but you can see this move down and this move back up is pretty close in cumulative delta. So that's why I say, like, stop run, rebalancing, right? I guess that was the natural gas numbers were in line. S&P 500 starting to turn on the down foot again, although again 4,400 is probably a spot that offers a lot of support. You might have a hard time getting very far below 4,400 because of gamma. I wish my inverse gave me a better price for the Japanese yen. I don't understand why it doesn't. It's because we're just too far away. Like, because we're towards the beginning of the contract. Closer to the beginning than the end of the contract. Well, there's 635 again if I wanted it. I guess I wouldn't have gotten very much from it, huh? Shall we browse Reddit a little bit? It's coming back down there. I'm not seeing signs of another meta order though, so I think that it might make a higher low here and then go sideways. Wow. Fight breaks out between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian supporters at Balboa Park, San Diego. Of course. What is that one person? Who is that one person that you don't understand the hype about? If the top comment is not Taylor Swift. No, Logan Paul. Well, yeah. Nobody actually likes Logan Paul. I don't understand how he's still famous too either. My sister-in-law's friend Sue, she's not that great. What? Enough of a decline there for me to reset things. Jake Paul. How is the top answer not Taylor Swift? Come on. Kim Kardashian. Yeah, I don't get that one either. I think they just have the money. I think that it's easier to gain notoriety from being rich than people realize. That's what I think. James Corden, never heard of him. Andrew Tate. Well, I understood the Andrew Tate thing, but that one's done and gone with now. Yeah, he got canceled, and don't hear about him anymore. Okay, maybe if I sort this by controversial, I get Taylor Swift. Come on. No, the most controversial comment was Jesus. Okay. Taylor Swift, there we go. Without her 25 ex-boyfriends, she would have no career. And the first comment is the misogyny is strong with this one. No, it's not that. Her music is bland, mediocre, and she's actually quite a toxic person. She just has a really good image management team. Nothing is more underappreciated than anonymity. You know what? I think that anonymity is both underrated and overrated. So the problem that I have with the internet right now is that anonymity turned into no identification whatsoever. How do I put this? The issue that I have with the internet right now is that anonymity turned into a faceless crowd, right? I think that it's great to be on the internet and you have a name and people know you by that name, and that name is not attached to you in real life. So that you can go and do whatever it is that you need to do on the internet and have it not affect your life, right? But what I don't think is good is every comment that I go out there and I read is from somebody different. And if I have an argument with somebody on Reddit, it doesn't matter because it's not like I'm ever going to see them ever again, right? I don't think that that's a good thing because I think it's led to people being so disconnected from their communities that they act like psychopaths, right? Like that's the problem with anonymity on the internet, is that you don't have a reputation to uphold, you don't have a connection to the community, and so people just do things that destroy the communities. They'll troll and all of that sort of a thing. And when it's like you're stuck with one name that at least, you know, has a reputation. If there was a register, if there was a national register where you got an account from that, you could only have one. There's no way to tie it to your real identity, but you only get one of these online identities. So that if I ban somebody, they're just banned and there's absolutely no way they could possibly come back because they wouldn't be able to get another one of those identifiers, you know? So it's like something like that. Oh, you meant when you were wealthy? Well, that comes into the whole quiet wealth trend, right? It's definitely something that I feel that, like, because yeah, I've had an increase in income lately, and my desire to be on social media has plummeted so much. I mean, I guess it was kind of like that before anyways, but like, what's the point, you know? The thing that I enjoy about the stream and the reason why I build the channel and the Discord and all of that is the community. It's the community. Everywhere that I see online, they're not building communities. They're trying to get famous for one reason or another, you know? That doesn't appeal to me. And so as the further along I get, the less interest I am in it. Can Jigsaw run on wine? It's a good question. I can't see why it wouldn't. Might be a little bit difficult, but I don't think anyone will know when I become a millionaire. I won't tell anyone. Well, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody on the internet. I'd tell my parents. I think it would have to be more than a millionaire, right? Millionaire's not that great anymore. A millionaire is not. Let's put it this way. Hold on, the news squawk is talking in my ear. Let's say if you had fuck you money, a millionaire is not fuck you money anymore, right? Where you could just live off of that for the rest of the year. It's not enough. You need to be in like the 50 million range or something like that. But once you get into that range, yeah, people knowing that you're a millionaire kind of doesn't help you. and that's the thing that I think is so funny about like wealth signaling. Is that you want to do wealth signaling because it will help you make connections with other people, and because they think you're rich, they'll want to network with you so that they can get rich, and you get these connections, and these connections are what matters to you, right? But I don't think that's how the wealthy build connections, actually, you know? And anybody that's like signaling the wealth, it's kind of a sign that they're not actually that wealthy, you know? Because the people that are truly well off just don't even think about it, man. It's just, money is not something that they even think, because it's just, they've always had it, you know? 70K is where you live, is FU money? Oh, really? Guess I need to move. guess I should come over. I think if I moved that my job would change my pay though. Well, there was that little move back towards the low that I was kind of like, yeah, I don't think that they're going to completely reverse this. I think that they might make a higher low, but again, it's probably like just sideways from there, right? Need to think about what do we got going the rest of the week, huh? Because I'm still in on this. Like, it seems to me like there's a lot of short covering that could have to happen in here. So like them reacting to the CPI in that way, does that kill it? The auction today is the 30-year. So that's good to note. U of M consumer sentiment and inflation expectations tomorrow. That's an important number. Next week, core retail sales, housing numbers. Philly Fed, lots of Fed speakers on Thursday. And the week after that, it's probably a lot slower, right? And then we get some PMIs, GDP, PC, but it's a little bit quieter. And then back to non-farms. It does make me question the CTA coverings trade now. I really want to know why that so much money went into the dollar, though. I guess October 9th's high was 106.18. We're quite a ways from that. But it's still a possibility today. And then you're into non-farms, and the high from non-farms was like 106.5. Discord's not doing the thing where like it deletes the messages. It's not doing it for some reason. Maybe Discord is behind her being slow. Oh man, you think that the treasury is going to go for another leg before we go? Technical indicators. If you trade an indicator applied to all four treasuries and trade when the signals, well, so if it was an oscillator like stochastics, they probably would all be in line most of the time. So I don't think that would filter out a whole lot. And oscillators like stochastics in general aren't very effective. I'm telling you, man, the only thing that's effective is having information that predicts orders, explicitly predicts orders, and I didn't have that today. The amount that they've sold in the treasury is a little bit, seems like an overreaction to me. It seems like an overreaction to me, but the orders to sell are there. And that was the only thing that mattered, right? Well, the way that they're acting as they get down here to 16 kind of suggests to me that all of the buyers have already been washed out. So while the sellers might be able to push and get a little bit lower, especially if the dollar is moving, I'm not necessarily going to expect a stop run here. Why would moving average? So there's another side to this. That is, so what you can do is, like, let's say I'm trading candlestick patterns, right? There's like 30 different candlestick patterns. I can go in and I can say, okay, when I see this candlestick pattern, I go long or I go short or whatever the deal is, right? I can test all 30 of those candlestick patterns. And if I do that over a 1 year period, I bet you that at least one of them is going to show itself to be profitable in a good trade, right? But the question is, why would that one actually be a good trade? Because in your data snooping back test, that was the best performing one. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the best performing over the next year. Could be a complete loser over the next year. You don't. How would you know, right? Because we don't have some sort of fundamental, reliable reason why it would behave that way, right? People and like people's emotions and the way that they tend to behave, and so that's not reliable. I tell you, people are so random. People are so random. What's reliable is, like, you know, the order book works like this and it leads to this certain mathematical property that causes, you know, X, Y, and Z. Right? That's something that would be reliable, that we could really make actual really good predictions off of. So when we're looking at a technical indicator like a moving average, it's kind of like, well, why do we think that the moving average would work? I need to have that, like, market microstructure reasoning as to why the moving average would be helpful. And without that, there's not really a whole lot of reason to really spend any time even thinking about it. That's why there's going to be a lot of things where, you know, it's like, well, what about this indicator? What about this indicator? Well, I don't know. If I haven't tested it, but I'm not going to bother going and testing it unless, like, I have a really good reason to, right? So the point being that, okay, so you're just thinking out loud, no problem. But what you should be thinking is, okay, but why is this particular one worth my time? What is it that I know? Like, do I have this math or this theory about market microstructure that suggests that this would be the case? Right. Can you explain why NQ had a massive move to the upside? No. Did NQ do something? Okay, hold on. You're right. I don't normally have a chart of NQ up. So hold on a second. Oh, that's really weird. Maybe there was some earnings at the time or something of that nature that boosted it up that I'm not hearing about. Because that is very much out of line with, like, everything else that's going on right now. You're very off sync, yeah. You can kind of see it on my little ES chart over here when you look at the spread between ES and NQ. There is a big shift. Spread between NQ and ES changed a lot during that. Okay, so theory. Perhaps this is more of this magnificent seven stuff, right? So like you got these 7 stocks that are doing really well and dominating the indexes, and everything else has been languishing. And so because we are having a down day because of inflation, this effect is seen more strongly. There's one theory. When the indexes are out of sync, be careful with the macro picture not supporting. I really don't feel like that the macro picture that we got today really supports the moves that we've had. I really don't. I honestly thought that when we had that initial move, what was it, from the open here down to like 02, I thought that like from then that it might reverse. So like, you know, I really shouldn't have stayed in that trade as long as I did. I knew that it was going to be that it was going to be a loser, and I was trying to avoid being the $30 loser, and it didn't work out. But the point being, I did not expect to see this much selling in the treasuries based on that CPI number. I expected there to be a lot of flow, but not, if anything, I expected the flow to be counter to what the news would actually suggest. There might be a reversal no matter what because of the Oreo. What is, you misspelled something there. Prior extensions. I don't know if I put much stock in that sort of thing. What I see is that in the bonds, the net flows look very much like they should be reversing. And the S&P 500, there's a couple of things in the short term that are long, but stock buybacks are not quite there yet. So I think that you could start to see a little bit of bullishness in the ES in the coming days. But then once you get closer into the end of the month, it flips back down again. So, yeah. But when I get a day like this, I'm gonna read extra, right? I'm gonna be trying to read all of the analysis of the day and try to see what the desks were seeing to try and understand why we didn't see more buying coming into the treasuries. Maybe it's just because of me. That are doing it all just to mess with me. All right, well, it sucks because I don't know what else to say, but tough day, disappointing. I'm still not, not doing the best. I think yesterday, let me see here, where is it? I think yesterday my things came out. Yeah, because I was at like 842 and now I'm at 742, and I'm like, did they take out like 2 months of data or something? But look, I went from 42 to 12. That hurts. It's a $30 loss. So, yeah. Maybe people are thinking recession? I don't know. Like I said, the inflation data does not... I'm not seeing inflation data that's like, oh, inflation's coming back, they're going to have to keep raising interest rates and that's going to kill the economy. And I'm not seeing that. I mean, it's a little bit higher than we would like, but I'd say it's still mostly in line with what our current expectations are. And the current expectations are still kind of like soft landing, right? So it was a little bit of an odd move. But, you know, I think that it might have just been knee-jerk reaction. Headline CPI is above expectations, sell all the things, and maybe it's just that simple. You're seeing a lot of naysayers. One thing I will say on this move down in the treasuries is that there was a lot of counterflow, even though the sellers ultimately won it. There was a lot of counterflow. So, you know, I wouldn't be coming out tomorrow and being like, well, they sold, so now we're going to sell again. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I think that the treasuries might have a lot of surprises for us in the next few days. Because I'm seeing a lot of position taking and a lot of trade. I also feel like that you know, 4.5 is a reasonable rate. Like, I don't know why we have to go up to 4.75. You know, 4.5 would be fine. And that, you know, I'm not looking for it to go back to 4. Okay, guys, I'm going to get going. I will see you tomorrow. I have better luck tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.